We live in dangerous times, although you might think so, watching television news or reading the newspapers or perusing the internet. Terrorist attacks everywhere, war, famine, disease. And in point of fact, we live in probably the safest time in all of human history. And terrorism, for all the terror that it seems to invoke, actually only 41 Americans have been killed by Islamic terrorists since 9/11, which is 15 years. So the problem is not so much terrorists. The problem is, or ISIS, or war in Syria. The problem is that our perception of the world is driven by the news media, and the news media, or the news business, is fundamentally a business, and the business of news is to sell newspapers or advertising on television, and the rates are determined by the size of the audience, or online, the number of eyeballs that you get, or the number of clicks. And as a result, the news business interest is in driving an audience, and you drive audiences with scary stories like terrorist attacks or the threat of Islamic fundamentalists or stuff like that. So we live in a world which is not really real. We live in a world which is an illusion, a paranoid illusion, driven by media companies whose primary interest is in holding on to and driving an audience. And you drive an audience by scaring people all the time. And if this is the only source of information they have, then we're plenty scared, even if there's nothing to be really scared of. So the question is, what do you do about this? Well, on the one hand, I could say, turn off the TV, stop reading newspapers, turn off the radio, and go live on a farm, which is actually one solution, but it's not going to happen. Also, the average American spends 5 hours a day, every single day, watching television. And television is replete with this kind of stuff because television also lives and dies by ratings, and ratings live and die by audience, and audiences are driven by scaring people. So we like scary stuff all the time. What do we do about this? Well, you could say turn off the television, or you could say write to your NBC and CBS and tell them to stop doing that, but that's not going to happen. I think there's a better solution, and it's one driven by technology. Up until now, access to print or access to television was driven by the cost of making television or owning a network. H.L. Mencken said, a free press is reserved to those who can afford a press. And in those days, nobody could. And until very recently, unless you had $500 million to throw around, you couldn't afford a network either. Those days are over. If you have an iPhone and you're online, which pretty much everybody is, and everybody has a smartphone, you hold in your hands a broadcast operation, and you hold in your hands the ability to create your own content, like I'm doing here, and transmit it to 3 billion people who are online. What we're looking at here is a revolution, a democratization of the news media, which never happened before. The news media has been carefully controlled by a handful of corporations whose only interest is in profit, not in truth. I'm sorry to say this, journalists are not really out to tell the truth. Journalists, because they work for major corporations, are out to maximize audience and maximize profit. And that means constantly scaring the crap out of everybody all the time when there is actually very little, if anything, to be scared of. And you see the results, although you see it in our political elections now. You see the kind of stuff that people are running on: fear of immigrants, fear of immigration, fear of Muslims, fear of bombs, fear of this, fear of that. It's nonsense. I mean, it's real, but plane crashes are real too. More people die of 1.4 million people will die of diabetes this year. A handful of people will die in terrorist incidents. Terrorist incidents, however, make better television. They sell more newspapers. So what do we do to get around this? Well, the answer is that we take control of the media. This is a radical idea. The media does not belong to Fox, and it doesn't belong to Viacom, and it doesn't belong to Time Warner. The media belongs to all of us. And all of us have not only the right and the power, but the responsibility to participate in this matrix of content. Right now, we've left the content in the hands of a couple of major corporations, and we're paying the price for it. We are victims. We're an audience. We are viewers. We don't have to be viewers. We can be participants. We can take an active role in deciding what goes into the news agenda every day. We can make the news. You can create content. If you have things that are important to you, all you have to do is take out your phone like this, turn the damn thing on, and start reporting on whatever news is important to you or your community, or whatever view you have, or whatever you want to express. You don't have to be a passive audience, and you don't have to be a victim. And that's really the reason that we created the VJ.com, not to pimp my own business, but I am a passionate believer in video literacy, and I'm a passionate believer in the democratization of this medium. News and information in a world of the internet and television are too important, too significant, to be left in the hands of a self-selected, appointed few whose primary interest is, frankly, financial profit. We have to take control of this medium. We have to start creating our own content and sharing our own content and not be the victims of Viacom and CBS and CNN, whose whole interest here is just to maximize their audience so they can charge the most for advertisers. So pick up your iPhone, learn how to use it, and start making content and start putting it online. Start sharing your opinions, because your opinions are worth as much as anyone else's. And you have the right to do it. So do it.